I'm Carl Edwards, I'm Managing Director of Parkview Project, which is a 12-step residential rehab in Liverpool. We set up in May 2003 in response to the fact that there was no safe accommodation for drug users and alcohol users in Liverpool. There were no abstinence houses where there were any meaningful interventions for drug users. That's all in the whole of Liverpool. During this kind of mid to late 90s, there was a little bunch of us who were in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and we used to go to the meetings, and then we'd go to a cafe later on and we'd sit, and often the talk would turn to, why is there no rehab in Liverpool? There's never been a rehab in Liverpool. And there were a number of us who were really interested in this as an enterprise, if you like. We'd seen how the 12-step fellowships had improved people's lives, and we wanted to know, why couldn't we have a rehab in Liverpool that was 12-step based, that fed the mutual aid 12-step community, and was staffed by people who were in long-term quality recovery. We were interested in how could we generate a greater recovery community of people locally that could stand as testament, if you like, that recovery from addiction is possible and that you can go on and live a full life. And we thought the best way to do that was the way it had happened for us in our experience, which was to be exposed to people who'd done it themselves. The normal treatment is, you know, the medical model type of thing. We thought the power of example was at the cutting edge of things, and that's what we wanted to do. The biggest factor of why I'm ending up sitting here running Parkview now is that I'm in recovery myself. There was a time in the early 90s and for most of the 80s where the only thing that made me feel any better was the thing that was killing me: alcohol, cocaine, cannabis and other stuff. And I was caught like a rat in a trap in a vicious cycle. When I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was sat in front of people who were sharing their stories, and they sounded, the situation, the dilemma was exactly like mine was, and yet they were sitting there and they were 3 months, 30 years, 10 years clean and sober. And it took 4 or 5 meetings before the light went on in my head. I mean, for a week or so, I didn't know why I was going to these meetings. Well, how's this going to help me? You know, I needed the best doctor in the world and this type of thing. But then, I think it was about a week into the meetings, and towards the end of one meeting, which was in Walton Hospital on a Saturday night, the lights just seemed to go on in my head, and it was a simple thing. If they can do it, maybe I can do it. And that was the first bit of hope I'd had for quite a long time. I think what kept us going is this constant stream of people who were getting well right before our eyes and really flourishing, really doing well, starting to work and give back and get back with their families and look after the kids again, live in decent accommodation, do voluntary work or go to college and all these things. Okay. I think the main benefits for people that Parkview can provide is a safe, supportive environment in which they are mixing with people who have got the same common purpose as them. They want to stay clean and sober. So they're with people of a like mind, people are bonded together with the same general objective, which is to stay off drinking drugs and get their lives back. So they get that, but they're also exposed to a lot of opportunities in terms of jobs, education and training. A lot of the things people have always wanted to do, whether it be a joiner or a filmmaker or whatever it is you want to do. And you've always dreamt about doing this type of thing, but you haven't been able to because of your addiction. now, if you want to, you can start there. We are, we work very, very closely with a number of agencies around the city who provide all kinds of stuff for people. I don't think now there's any excuse anymore that sort of feeling of, oh, there's nothing out there, there's no help. That's not true anymore in Liverpool. I think if you had to use one word to describe what it is my wife and I have tried to create with Parkview, we would choose the word hope. It's a feeling of hope for people. When there's no hope, things are grim, and you can sort of only carry on the same way. And I think that's what happens here. People come and realise that there is hope for them. And what would be ideal, obviously, is if that could be translated to the whole of Liverpool, whereby anybody who is in treatment or on street drugs or drinking really dangerously could realise that there was hope. There were services there and communities of recovering people who can provide enough hope for you that you can emerge out of this.